Hi, friends. Welcome back to Notes from My Nervous System, a podcast about understanding your nervous system so you can move through hard moments with a little more calm and a lot less self-blame. I'm Erin, a mom, a therapist, and creator of the Mind Circuit app, which is a simple nervous system-friendly tool just in your pocket for moments when your body needs a little support so your brain can catch up. Today, we're meeting with an old colleague of mine, and we're not old though, but we started when we were very young. And actually, you know what? I have you introduce yourself. Yes, you are always doing so many different things and on boards and presenting and researching and writing books. I don't think I do you justice. So please introduce yourself to our guest.
Well, thank you, Erin. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I'm so glad we've reconnected after all these years running into you at the ISCA conference. That was
I know, that was so fun.
joy.
And your presentation was great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, since then, I actually made tweaks to it and presented it again at the SWAP conference. So it's even more improved. But thank you. Yes, so I am Nilufar Rezai, and I have been in CPS, Chicago Public Schools, now for 15 years.
No.
15 years, believe it or not.
Yeah.
10 of those years as a counselor, and the remaining 5 in the district as an SEL specialist, coaching teachers in how to do personalized learning. I worked in the Office of School Counseling, Post-Secondary Advising just for a tiny bit, even before I became a counselor. I have been a substitute teacher for a whole year. I've done
Anything in education you have done, tried it, been there.
Yes, exactly. And then just most recently, I've collaborated with Kirsten Perry, who you had on your show and whose interview I listened to, which was a lot of fun. And she edited a book, which I wrote a chapter in. So the ABCs of social emotional learning and in school counseling for counselors and administrators. And my particular chapter was about the crosswalk, like comparing the castle model with the ask model. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get into it all. But other than that, I also serve as a founding board member of Organic Oneness, which is a nonprofit organization whose mission or vision is to eliminate racism by building healthy communities. So that's been really exciting.
That is so needed.
Yeah, yes, for the past 5 years. And gosh, other than that, I have 2 boys and happily married, and so
Busy. Always talking about mental health and social emotional learning and dealing with anxiety and kiddos who are getting bullied and the idea of safety. And so I am so excited you took some time out to be on my podcast because I know you're very busy and you're always in demand. So I do appreciate it. And anybody listening knows that I just like to jump right in. So I wanted to talk today about kiddos within the school system who are going through anxiety because the numbers right now are just awful. I mean, it keeps increasing. Kiddos are getting bullied, and then just how that shows up in the nervous system, understanding the biology of that behavior, because the more I learned about my own nervous system, the more I realized sometimes even when I was a school counselor, didn't always interpret a kiddo's response the way that it probably was more fight, flight, freeze, fawn, more of that, nervous system reaction. Instead, I would think they, didn't like me, didn't want to talk to me, instead of recognizing maybe they were in freeze.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And by the way, I've really enjoyed reading your book, Wired for Safety.
Oh, thank you.
And I really love how you said that if anybody who has a nervous system has basically experienced trauma. Right.
Absolutely. I don't know how anybody on this planet right now can say that they've never experienced trauma.
Exactly, exactly. So I would love to even hear some of your thoughts once I sort of level set on some of the topics that we're going to
Mhm.
be covering today, just to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what these concepts mean and what, how to understand it from the same perspective. So the first thing I wanted to just level set on is this idea of social emotional learning, or what we
Mhm.
call SEL. And it's, essentially it's a process by which we're learning skills that we need to know, like knowing ourselves, like managing our emotions, understanding others, building healthy relationships, and then making responsible choices in all parts of our lives, right? And the image that most comes to mind when people think of SEL is the iconic castle wheel and the five competencies, and Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning is actually based in Chicago. And so they are a partner with Chicago Public Schools. So the past 15 years, I have been relying on their research and resources to do this work. So that's, really exciting, that I was also able to write my chapter using a lot of their materials. Um, but anyhow, so that's my not idea, or that is my frame from which I'm coming when I think of SEL.
Mhm.
And then when you put one added layer on that, trauma informed SEL, right? That is specifically using social emotional learning after recognizing how a distressing event or experience can adversely affect a child's brain, body, behavior, and responding first in ways that prioritize that child's safety, connection, and choice before actually teaching all those SEL skills. Because a child who's, let's say, a child who um, isn't, but, speaking of trauma, we've all experienced trauma to some degree, but let's say a child who's experienced less trauma than someone who's more elevated, they may be able to access those SEL skills without skipping a beat. But a
Mhm.
child who's in that fight, flight, fawn stage, they need
Yeah.
to first feel that safety, right? That connection before they can even access all those skills we talked.
Right. Because that higher level thinking is offline.
Correct.
So
100%.
they're it's kind of like deer in a headlights is how I like to describe it to people who aren't engrossed in social emotional learning the way you and I are.
Yes.
It's your body reacts, deer in a headlight. You don't have control in that moment. It's just that animal reaction.
100%. 100%. And so that's one kind of frame. Another one is Chicago Public Schools most recently was starting to look at trauma from a healing centered framework, which,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, that's phrase that's been coined by a researcher named Sean Ginwright. And
Okay.
he built this model on the premise that trauma is not a personal thing, it's collective and systematic. So the way he says how to cure it is not just by like pathologizing the child and saying, what's wrong with you and that, but rather not only what happened to you collectively, systematically, but what's right with you, and really building on their capacity to heal and thrive and focusing on their strengths rather than on the deficits.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful model. And so in that sense, when I work with students, I try not to define them by their trauma, but rather by their capacity to heal and thrive. And I look to the family, to the community, to even identify root causes that might be keeping them in that fight flight mode, so we can
Mhm.
address the root rather than just help them deal with symptoms.
No, I am all about getting to that root. It's why I got trained in EMDR therapy,
Mm, yes.
so that we could get to the root and understand it's not just the events, it's how you've internalized it, how it shows up in your body, your feelings, uh, just all the different ways, and in the environment, how it comes out.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Perfect. So I love it. We're on sync.
Absolutely.
And oh yeah,
How does like that show up for you in day to day
Yeah.
as an educator or even a parent who's listening?
Yes. So when I'm working with kids, I make sure that I myself am in that coping state, right?
That
Because
calm,
yes,
collected, your lid's on.
yes. Because if I'm in fight, flight, freeze, there is no way that I can service the students around me. And if I do see a student who is maybe dysregulated or withdrawn or, not in their full thinking self, I don't, my old me would be like, why are they being defiant? What's wrong with them?
Right? I feel so bad looking back at some of those moments.
Yes.
And I've had a master's degree and
Mhm.
I didn't catch that. So how the heck do we expect just Joe Schmo to know? It'd be like telling me how to change brakes on a car. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And so now, instead of getting defensive or taking things personally, I'm really thinking more like, okay, what happened to this child? Or what is that positive strength-based thing that I can draw out in trying to get them to really get the tasks done, or, come back to, where everyone else is at in terms of responding to the lesson and so on and so forth, right? Like, how can I, and when I zoom in on that positive thing, I'm calmer, I'm regulated. And so the child feels it.
That tuning fork idea.
Yes, because then they can mirror me. And so, yeah, so, and I will love to share more examples as we go about how I've done that in the schools. And
Can you speak to, let's start first with the teacher and then we'll go parent side. A teacher has 30 plus kiddos. And I don't know about you, but when I would come into a classroom, I wasn't going to tell the teacher, you need to be calm.
right.
It needs to be collected because they're feeding off of it. They probably would have told me where to go and I wouldn't have blamed them in the least bit.
Yeah.
But it is important to have that basic understanding of that tuning fork and how powerful that is.
Yeah.
Have you found ways to have educators be able to grasp that where they don't feel like you're attacking or putting them down or,
Yeah. Yes. One of the strategies that I teach teachers is leverage your students to be like mini teachers of yourself. So, for example,
thank you.
yes, if a child is, especially the frequent flyers, right? My favorites, as I call them. If they're the ones who are constantly pushing your buttons every day in and out, makes no difference, then teach the class as a whole to send that positivity, send that love, send that calm to the child. So it's not the teacher just trying to do 1 versus 30. It's 29
on your class against the one who's having an off day.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And teach them how to say those things in the moment. Like, I wish you well. I'm sending you love. We are thinking positive thoughts for you. We know you can get through this, right? Like, you're giving them sentences and words and ways of helping to do what the teacher does so they don't feel alone. And also, I've extended my support to teachers in the moment. So I notice when I'm in there with them, they tend to be more calm because they feel like they have another adult supporting too. So I think that really helps. I feel it's kind of a shame that in our schools today, which tend to be very overcrowded and understaffed, teachers are struggling solo, but in an ideal setting, you have that aide, you have that CK, you have that partner, or that clinician or that's really working with you so that you can bounce off of each other and not feel like you're all by yourself. But yeah, and then I have another teacher at school. She's so funny. I kind of call her my negative Nancy because she's always looking at like the worst case scenario, right? Like, oh, this is going to go wrong and I'm going to have a bad day. And so I literally go to her and say, okay, let's reframe that. What's the positive thing you can say? So she always jokes with me. She says, we're going to be in Halloween, we're going to wear the cloud and the sunshine. Like, I'll be the sunshine. Busted. This she'll be the cloud and we'll walk down.
You should totally do that and take a picture.
Yes, 100%. Because I really do have to help her retrain her thinking and her automatic, words, even the vocabulary issues, to get her to think in a more strength-based way so that it will change her perspective of the class as well. So there is some.
Do you think that if we just as a very basic intervention, even just taught kiddos in elementary vocabulary for the strength base, how to reframe, that could have some of that positive push and impact?
100%, especially even in a bullying situation, right? A lot of times I will teach the child who is being bullied, that child who is oppressing and harming, they actually were harmed themselves. So rather than taking it personally or thinking they have something specific against you, turn it around on them and ask them, are you okay? Can I help you? What's happening today? Like now you're reteaching kids to reframe that victim mentality to now, oh, I'm actually going to support or help this person who is harming others. And it really forces kids to not feel so victimized because now they have the tools to be able
to verbiage, and they know the how, what I can do in those situations.
Yes.
But middle school is always tricky and still seems to be tricky. Do you find it as difficult? Is it easier? Where is the pushback? What age is it where you get the roll of the eyes more?
Yeah, well, especially when I do end up pulling the student who has been harming others and I confront them about it, they will make every excuse in the book about how, but I didn't, or they did, or, I was only like they'll come back with the, trying to justify like what was the reason they did it. And it takes some kind of getting them to let down their guards and be comfortable and feel safe enough to admit or take accountability for their actions.
Well, there's adults who can't even take accountability still. So, I mean, for us to look at a middle schooler and say, you should take accountability.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, it definitely takes time for them to admit, that there was some wrongdoing and then to be receptive to that restorative conversation. With middle schoolers, I will obviously first talk to the person who's been hurt alone and get their story. Then I talk to the person who was harming and hear their perspective. And then I always ask the person who was being harmed if the person who harmed admits or is willing to make amends. Are you willing to come together in a restorative conversation? And, I would say a good 90% of the time they agree to it. And when they come together, I think the process, the materials that we use as part of the healing, what we call the peace circles or the restorative circles. We have a lot of
kind of like peer mediation almost.
Yes, we're rolling out peer mediation this year for the first time, but we've been using restorative.
Well, I used to do that in a couple of my schools. I loved it.
Yes, yeah, it's very effective, and And so I think the students, because they are familiar with the restorative conversation process and the healing circle process, then they come to recognize how to make amends and also accept the apology or accept the amends that are made. It's because it's two-sided, right? They have to be open to it and be willing to receive it. And I think that's where we can break down or reframe, like retrain students to really think in a different way beyond what is automatic for them. So, yeah.
Again, it speaks to the idea of this being just brought up to them, introduced to them at a young age, so that by the time they hit middle school, high school, this isn't foreign.
Correct. Exactly right. Yes. And children, and the younger ones, the pre-K through fifth graders that I work with, definitely they're much easier to, they're much more easier to mold in that sense and like easier to teach these things. So they will
they're not trying to look cool.
Exactly. Yes, they will more quickly admit to wrongdoing, make amends, and then they get excited about my strategies. I'll give them a challenge. I'll say, okay, and not necessarily in a bullying situation, but one where there's a conflict and the peers are equal and they've had, ongoing conflict. I'll give them a challenge. I'll say, every morning when you walk into this building, you will compliment each other. You will find a way to help each other. And I hold them to it. I have them like keep track on an index card, like what they did or how many times. And then by the end, and I tell them, I say, it takes, a few weeks to create a habit. Do this every day for 10 days or however long I give them. And you will notice how much easier it will be to interact from that space of positivity and giving and kindness than what you maybe are always used to. So yeah, I'll give them little challenges like that.
What do you find more difficult, getting the kiddos on board or the adults in the building on board or the parents even?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question.
I've been told I ask good questions.
Yes. You do, Erin. Yeah. I mean, I think that adults, unfortunately, sometimes they want quick fixes. They want you to solve it or to take the kid away and change them and send them back. Or, so when I start saying, okay, well, how about the 3-to-1 intervention for every time you correct this child, give them 3 unsolicited, unconditional compliments. Like, just small things like that. Or the 2-minute 2x10. For 2 minutes every day for 10 days, just talk to the child about anything they want to talk about unrelated to school. And building on like changing their language, building that relationship, they sometimes they're open to it, but then they don't necessarily follow through all the way. They might stop halfway or they might be like overwhelmed.
What do you do though when a teacher's like, I would love to, but how do I find the time, the instructional time? There's so many of them.
Exactly.
And not that I expect you to fix it all right now, but little nuggets,
Yeah. And I kind of do a little motivational thing. I say, the time that you might put, even if it's a little bit, maybe you don't get to do 3-to-1, maybe you just do 2-to-1. But the little effort that you put in will pay off 100-fold than having to have to deal with the constant behavior, because it takes more energy to destroy and hate and argue than it does to love and build and grow. So I try to frame it for them that way. Like it may seem a lot in the beginning, but it will pay off in very short time and you'll notice a difference. Another thing is if they do have an aide in the room or a co-teacher or some other, student teacher or maybe, some other person, a tutor that might come in, I'll leverage that person as well to support the teacher so that they can collaboratively do this work and it's not, again, falling just on the teacher. But also, I think just the checking in, if I know a teacher is struggling, a particular teacher's having a hard time, I will check in with them myself on text or at the end of the day and give them that safety and support and like positivity so that so they can empty their cup too and not feel like they're struggling to do this by themselves, but they have the support of other adults around them too. So it's a combination of things, really.
Do you think if we also, as educators, as a community, with our parents, and looked at us adults before we started school that week before and just really put in some good practices so that we felt supported?
100%. And that is something that my administration is so good about. They give me and my culture and climate team and my behavioral health team time, PD time at the beginning of the year, even during grade band meetings, middle of the year. Like,
Really? That's
anytime.
unheard of.
I know I really hit the jackpot with this ad, but I told them, I said, I think I'm going to leave this school. I'm going to retire here. So you're going to have to kick me out if you want me gone.
But think of that positive impact, though, that the administration and you and the teachers are having. If you stay, if you build that sense of community, and then the parents and the guardians get to know you throughout the years and they feel safe. So the moment every adult is walking into that school, their nervous system is feeling safe and calm, which will ripple just go down to the kiddos, if I could talk. And I don't think we as adults step back and look at the biology and some simple little things we could do for ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And, one other thing that I loved reading in your Wild for Safety book was this whole idea of the humming and the singing, the chanting, even the dancing, regulating through music, vibration, how much that can help regulate. Like, those are things that I do in my counseling lessons. Those are things that I talk about with my administration, with teachers, so that they understand different ways of just using our bodies, in addition to the old standby good ones, like the deep breathing and, the mindfulness, the grounding exercises, like all of those.
But I don't think we truly understand, though, the mindfulness or the grounding. I don't think we truly, as educators, adults, parents, understand how much we have to really tap into our bodies.
Yes.
And teach our kiddos how to be aware of how your body feels. Because you say mindfulness, and I can't tell you how many times adults will just talk about positive thinking to me. And I'm like, but you're nodding your senses. You're just stuck in your head, and there's the rest of the body.
Yes. Yes. 100%. You'll be happy to hear this. We 2 years in a row now, we've had our SEL family nights. And they come and they have different stations that they go to and do different kind of exercises with their children to learn how to, really internalize those SEL concepts, right? So like this year we had a yoga room where they also were learning how to do mindful breathing, mindful body work. They got to experience that. We had another room. We integrated some, we made these like arts and crafts activities together where they created these quilts and they were able to, as a family, like create these family square quilts and talk about how to do activities together that way. We had a dinner for them where they came together and had little sentence stems at each of the tables where they could, have conversations and really experience like family dinner. As a matter of fact, there was an article that recently came out that said families who eat dinner with their children at least 3 times a week are actually increasing their SEL competencies.
Oh, I could believe it 100% because you have all that positive, like peer pressure of a family wanting to interact.
Yes.
Sometimes challenging each other's in respectful ways, right?
Yes.
Having those deeper conversations because you're sit to pause. You have to sit there, pause, and be in the moment. And it is very rare these days
It
that
really is.
even us as adults are forced to sit and not have like our phone or something on, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. So that SEL,
Beautiful.
teaching the families, how to do all of that in simple ways, and then
Natalie surprised me.
Mhm.
Why do we assume the moment somebody has a kid, they know what they're going to do? I didn't.
Exactly.
And I had a master's and I still had no clue.
I know. Well,
Nobody gave me a manual for my body, let alone a child's body, mind, emotions, behavior.
yeah. I mean, imagine we have to take exams to get a driver's license, but nobody gives us any training when we become pregnant.
No, like just some help. You can grade on a curve and take it over and over again, but just
Yeah.
even the conversation of, hey, being a parent is hard as hell.
Yes.
And so we have all these classes that we're going to provide for you because it's so important and it's also really hard.
Yes.
And everybody messes up, but we want to give you a better foundation.
100%.
I don't understand why we're not providing that for one another.
Yeah. No, it's a real need.
And then we just throw the kids at the teachers and we're like, figure it out.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. It's so true. It's so true. But I think for sure with teachers, just going back to your original question, if a child, like if I could just give one piece of advice on something an adult can do in the moment to help a child feel safer, or without making escalating like their fight, flight, freeze situation, is slow the interaction down. Use your voice and your words to create that calm sense, right?
Can you give like an example? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
For sure. Yeah. Saying something like, let's take a breath together, or look at me, copy what I'm doing, like mirror my behavior. And then you can breathe with them, or, count or whatever. Or even saying things like, let's take this one step at a time. I see you're having a hard time right now. You let me know when you're ready, right? Like giving them that choice.
I love that autonomy, and you're not forcing them to answer.
Correct.
Why did you do that? I have no clue. I'm still in survival mode right now.
100%. Yeah. Definitely no shaming, no blaming. There's no place for that. It's strength-based, it's hope-focused language. And you're really, again, when you do that, you're automatically able to calm yourself down, right? Because you got to be ready to really look into this child and figure out, okay, what do they need right now? What is that strength that I can pull out of them right now? And then it helps you to kind of also regulate.
I like that reframe though, not what needs to be fixed or stopped.
Yes.
But what is it that they need in the moment? How can I be supportive?
100%. Yep. Yeah. Now, I do offer parent workshops at school, for a variety of topics. I think our biggest challenge, though, is getting parents to come.
What do you think I know as a parent myself,
yes,
time is always very difficult as much as I love it. And so I'll find myself looking for resources at like 2 a.m. or something, which is not when you want to have a parent meeting, but
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, do you think it's more than the time then? Do you think it's intimidating?
I think it might also be this sort of the opposite of helicopter parent. Oh, whatever, the opposite of that.
Okay. What if that animal that throws the baby and runs?
Like if the population we're with, they don't necessarily feel like they have to micromanage everything their child is doing or need to know everything that's going on. Like they're more like, okay, well, you guys are taking care of the kids, so we're good.
Good luck there. See ya. Like a tag it in, tag out type situation, right?
Yeah. Actually, this year I had a mom who was, we met with the mom because the child was struggling with some behaviors. And I put together kind of a packet of materials to give her that she could use with her child at home to reinforce what we were teaching him at school. And I asked her when I put it together, I called her, I said, hey, I have these materials. Would you like to meet for me to show what they are, go through it? And then she's like, no, just send it home. And I thought, okay, that's fine. And I did. But the doubt that came up in my mind, is she really going to use it? Is he really going to read it? And it's kind of like the opposite of helicopter. So we do what we can, right?
I noticed I always had the best interactions and connections, whether it was a parent or a guardian, when I approached it as, yes, I'm the professional, but I'm also human and I mess up too. So, like, we're on the same level here. And I have some knowledge you may not have because of my training. And you have knowledge that I don't have access to either, right?
Yes. Yeah. Good.
That seems difficult in this day and age to be able to show up and put the ego aside.
Yeah. Yeah. But definitely what you described is part of that whole culturally affirming work, right? Where you want to learn what the family can teach you and you want to
Absolutely. Nobody knows their kid
them.
better.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's like a true collaboration that kind of goes back to what we said at the beginning was the community, the system, the collective is what ultimately we need to bring together to address all of these needs.
Absolutely. But that is such a big task. Not that I'm surprised that you've taken on the collective as your next to do.
Well, I'll share with you, Erin, what I talked about in my presentation, right, that you came to in ISCA about the Anti-Violence Youth Committee.
And anybody listening, ISCA, we're not like, I'm dyslexic and I mispronounce words. We don't always get along, but ISCA is Illinois School Counseling Association.
Yes.
Just anybody listening.
Correct. Thank you for that. And SWAP is the Chicago Public Schools version of counselors coming together and exchanging information. So that was the other piece. But yeah, the Anti-Violence Youth Committee is a youth-run organization that we created 5 years, in the time 5 years ago since I've been at the school. And it's 4th to 8th graders coming together each year to talk about the violence in the neighborhood and how to not only raise awareness, but to put a stop to it. And the way they want to do that is by building a monument garden in a park just down the street from our building.
I love that.
That honors the lives of young people who have lost their lives to gun violence in the North Lawndale, West Garfield Park community that we live in. And so this is a way that students are kind of taking back their neighborhood in a sense and really wanting to make a change for the better at the root cause, right?
Now, do you think they're going to be able to have that happen?
Yes.
Their garden?
We've made really great progress with the aldermen, the park district. They are on board. We have the sketch of what it's going to look like. We know what kind of plants we want to grow. We have all of that. Now it's just a matter of funding and making sure the community rallies around it, supports it, with petitions and things like that.
Well, I will send all my positive vibes. And when you guys start gearing up and you need support, please let me know. I will blast it everywhere because
oh my God, the best.
I just can't imagine the positive impact that could have to have a beautiful green space.
Yes.
And then for the community to see all the beautiful little lives that we have lost.
Exactly.
Nothing speaks more than having to see that.
Yes, exactly. In a sacred, very uplifting space is really what we're wanting to create, which is most needed in that neighborhood for sure. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I always put anybody I'm talking to on the spot because that's what I like to do. What is something that you would tell your younger self? A statement, permission, a quote, a suggestion, anything. Just something small that you wish you would have said or known so that we can say that for our listeners.
Yes. Yes. I would say that if I could talk to my younger self, I would want her to know that it's not that serious. Right? Don't sweat, the ups and downs. Life is gonna life, right? Let life be life, and you can't change that. But to just have that faith and confidence that you have what you need, you have what it takes to be able to withstand those ups and downs, right? And to not feel like you are less than or incapable or unequipped or, whatever those negative thoughts were
that judging of this stuff.
Exactly. The judging, yeah. The the kind of, again, the shaming, the blaming, like all that aside, right? You gotta live in your light and kind of build from there. And I think that would have saved me a lot of, just insecurities and doubts and hard times. But yeah, thing.
I could go on and on with this conversation with you, and I just so appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. It was so nice connecting with you. Keep in touch. Keep in touch.
I definitely will. If anybody wants to help out with the board you're on or with the garden, how can they reach out and support?
Yes, for sure. I would say best to get in touch with me through my work email because all of those things kind of overlap with,
Filter through that.
Correct. So yeah, and Rezai at cps.edu.
And CPS is Chicago Public Schools because when I moved from Chicago to Western North Carolina and I would talk about CPS, people always thought I meant Child Protective Services.
Yeah.
And I would get some weird looks.
Right. I know, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's in Chicago, that's DCFS.
Yes. But I'm telling you, the first year I was like, why is everybody acting so weird? And I had a friend, I said, well, you took people's kids from their home. I was like, what? I did what? I did no such thing.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no. CPS Chicago Public School.
Thank you again so much. I appreciate this.
Erin.
And thank you to my listeners for joining us today for Notes to My Nervous System. If this spoke to you, please leave a review. Unless it's negative, keep it to yourself. I don't need to read that. Hit subscribe. And if listening stirred anything up and you don't want to sit in it, please check out my Mind Circuit app. It is designed for moments like this. It's not therapy. It's just a short guided reset to let your nervous system know it's safe. You could do it before sleep, when you're stressed, when your thoughts won't slow down. And before we wrap it up, I just want us to take a quick, nice, slow, deep breath. And now, so that we can all return to whatever it is that life has for us next. Just remember to be kind to your own wiring. Thank you.